So today's demonstrator, Dave, come on in here. Dave Bentley, a lot of you guys know, this guy is Mr. AV. He takes care of a lot of the AV stuff here. He kind of silently sits over there and makes stuff work. Today he's put Jim to work because he's doing a demonstration. But he's also an instructor here, not just turning, but he also does home maintenance instruction. And, you know, my understanding is well-attended classes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so great work. He's, you know, spent years and years in the corporate world. He and I talked a few times about some of his travels, and just an amazing person. But today, he's going to do one of my favorite subjects that I haven't really gotten into, and that is these larger tops. We always see the people make the little ones that you spin with your fingers, and I've done a few of those, and I have them around, but these are lovely tops, and they spin for 4 or 5 minutes.
I don't know, for a long time, but I don't know if it'll be 5.
I'll let you talk to that. So please, welcome Dave Bentley. You got a microphone?
So I grew up in the late 40s. It was sort of an interesting time, and the first toy I remember is one that looked like this. You remember these, some of you?
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah.
It was my favorite toy until I became, I think I was 8 or 9 years old, and they took it away from me and gave it to my little brother. I was heartbroken.
Yeah.
And then,
Holding this together.
so I missed that toy. So let's fast forward from the time I was born to 1956. I was playing Little League Baseball, and I had been given my first yo-yo, which is also in the top family. But then there was a big notice that came out through the neighborhood, and it said the Duncan Yo-Yo Man was coming to town. How many of you remember the Duncan Yo-Yo Man? Absolutely. I thought he was a grown man. He was probably about 20 years old. And he came out in front of us with the new Imperial Yo-Yo, which I brought with me. I have an Imperial. And he came out doing this thing, throwing his yo-yos. And then he put the cat in the cradle, and then he walked the dog. And so we're all doing that same thing, and we're off in yo-yos. And then, years later, the butterfly came out. Remember the butterfly? Mm-hmm. Lots of people. If you were born in the 50s, the butterfly was the big yo-yo at the time. Well, we're going to talk about these tops up here. Everything you see on this table is a top. What I have in here are some highly specialized metal tops that we'll get into. And then we're going to turn the top. I'm going to explain to you how I make tops and how my making of tops has changed rather dramatically from the first one to the last one. In '68, Duncan Yo-Yo was sold to another company that built yo-yos and tops and all sorts of stuff. And to this day, they manufacture, they're one of the biggest manufacturers of yo-yos and tops in the world. So I've always had tops, gyros, which there's a gyro up here too. If you played with one of these, great toys. The gyros, I've had one of those off and on for lots of years. I also put some dreidels out here, because dreidels fall into the family.
Yes.
Dreidels are one of the oldest toys in history. Tops are the oldest toy that they've ever found. They found one at 6000 BC in an archaeological dig. Amazing. King Tut, not somebody that was my friend, but I know of him. King Tut had a top. Did any of you see the video? Did you see the video? Oh. In the video, there was a history of tops. So if you missed the King Tut top, that's a picture of King Tut's top. That's the original. 1500 BC. Pretty amazing. So 1500 BC. Years later, probably about 5 years ago, somebody came up, made a picture of it, and started selling these tops. And these are sold today as King Tut's tops. So they've had a history of their own. around 400 BC, dreidels came into play.
Yay.
And for anybody interested, I have a copy of the dreidel game, so if you're curious about it,
Oh,
this
no.
will tell you about it. And right behind it, there's something called gelt.
Yeah, gelt.
Yeah. This gelt is Belgian chocolate
Yeah.
covered
That's
with
the best.
gold foil.
With the gold.
But the rest of the tops
Unbelievable.
are the ones that I've made. I've made lots of these things. In 2015, I retired. And my brother-in-law sent me a top. Because I always told him I wanted to have a top like his. And because I was a wood turner, I thought, well, now I have one, I'll learn how to make it. And so, over the years, I have made tops, and then I started making a lot of tops. And about 1 out of 5 would spin really well. And the other ones, they would just sort of fumble, and they look nice. And I wasn't paying a lot of attention to what I was doing. I was more worried about how they looked than how they spun. And then I started to get some questions, and people were buying them, and I had questions about how can you make them spin. So I had a shelf with about 25 tops on it that didn't spin, hardly at all. And so I took them all down and redid them. With the tops, if you look at the tops, most of them start out in a configuration something like this. And I was using wooden dowels in the center, and I was picking my wood because it was pretty, which is sort of a shame. You can do that with a handle, but you can't do it with these. If you have sapwood and hardwood together, they don't spin. If you have an inclusion in there,
Right.
and you've added something like resin to fill it up or something, it doesn't spin very well.
It's off balance.
They have to be pretty clean. Now the handles, you can do anything you want with. Of the tops I make, one of the configurations, it looks like this. This is what I call the tiny dancer. I put the arms on her, and the original one that I made had a shorter handle. And I was so excited to try it the first time, I grabbed it and pulled it, and those little wooden hands that somebody could throw at me, that I'd never feel, put black and blue marks across my knuckles. So that was a learning experience. So on the tops, when I started, I would make them like this in shorter handles. These that have arms on them, and I have sold lots of those, and I have my newest one, Robbie the Robot, which isn't quite done yet. But he also has a longer handle. So I brought along a whole bunch of stuff for you to look at, and after we finish the presentation, I'll give you a chance to play with a bunch of the tops. They're fun to play with.
Get rid of this stuff.
But I want to talk about how I make the top, and I want to start with the handle. My handles are all 1.5 by 1.5. They can have nice configurations. They can have hardwood and sapwood and inclusions and all sorts of stuff. And the first thing I do is make sure they're exactly 1.5 by 1.5 in the right length. If I'm going to be put hands and arms on my dancers, I'm going to make the handles longer so I don't get black and blue marks on my knuckles. Then I put my holes in, make sure they're dead center. This is what I started with. This is what I end up with. And then I turn the handles. And I put a thumb stop on mine, and they become pretty standard. I just put them between centers. I turn them around. I mark my sizes and where everything goes. It's what we normally do when we spindle turn. And then at the very end, I take the ends down as far as they'll go, and then I cut them off, sand them off. I have a little tiny micro sander. I sand them off, and then I wax them. I wax all my stuff. I've used Minwax and some of those kinds of things, but it doesn't make any difference. If people hold it, kids grab them, everybody's always touching it. You can always re-wax them and sand them. And some of the tops that I make, there's something called a tombo. Are you familiar with the tombos? Mm-hmm. Nice tops. You have to learn how to throw these. They're thrown upside down, and at the very end, they'll catch at the top and they land. But if you can't throw it, and you have sliding glass doors, you don't want to be anywhere close to that door. And if this hits the door, it's going to go straight through the glass. So, but they're nice toys.
And how do you?
And in one of my classes, I gave all the students a chance to turn whatever they wanted to turn. And Jamie Glacier said he wanted to do a top. And he did the top, and his first throw was horrible. And his second throw was absolutely perfect. Thank God, I gave him the right instructions. He did a great job. It was a beautiful top. So, with the stuff I brought with me, I brought a bunch of stuff. And on the website, after this meeting, after we get the videos done, the handout for doing this will be on the site, so you can download it.
Thank you.
Inside the handout are all the updates on how I changed everything, going from wood center points and on the top to the new aluminum ones, and how I do the bases and the points, and how I center everything. Centering that's an end of the game, just keeping everything centered. As far as tops are concerned, I've been asked lots of questions about tops. So the last question I was asked, where is Dietrich?
Right here.
Oh, Rick Dietrich, we were sitting in here helping out with one of the classes, and Rick says, where did the name top come from? Doesn't anybody wonder where tops came from? Who knows? Every time I look it up on the internet, and I've gone through lots and lots of literature, it says, I put, why is a top a top? And then it just explains how a top, what it looks like. The name top has been around since 6000 BC, evidently. And so a top is just, they explained it as either a top as a blouse or something, or a top that you spin. And there is no other explanation. And when you find one, because you're all going to look, when you find it, send me a note. In the club, my email is in the club site. Send it to me because I can't find it. So I have just one more handout that I wanted to take, and I'll pass it around so you can see it.
I want to see it spin.
I'll pass this around. And if anybody wants to know what the standard sizes for the dreidels are, there is a standard size for a dreidel, and nobody pays any attention to it. They designed some of the most beautiful little dreidels I've ever seen.
But they don't
You
spin.
can pass that around as well.
I have one that doesn't spin. Oh, really? Yeah.
And I have information on the Duncan Yo-Yo Company if anybody's interested. It was just, I threw it in my bag of stuff. And I have a book that Bob Nolan gave me on tops.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where some of these other ideas came from.
Is that Michael Cullen's book?
What's that?
Is that Michael Cullen's book?
It is.
Mm-hmm.
It's very good.
Yeah, he's a good turner.
So in the line of tops, one of the things that caught my attention was the number of tops. In the names of them, there are Japanese spinning tops, Korean spinning tops, Czech spinning tops, German spinning tops, American spinning tops, Russian spinning tops. And so they're all tops. But the newest tops that you see in the marketplace today are the tippy tops. Are you familiar with tippy tops?
Mm-hmm.
So a tippy top is a small, round top that's spun, and it's hollowed out halfway up on the inside, and you spin it right side up, and it goes upside down and spins backwards. It's the most amazing thing. And I'm still trying to make those so that everyone is successful, and I haven't made it yet, but I will. And then the other tops that are really new to the top industry are the new metal tops. And if you're wondering about the metal tops, back in here, I have one of the super metal ones here, and these little babies can get expensive. These are the ones that spin for 5 minutes plus, and the longest spinning top on the market has spun for 27 hours
57 hours.
I'm falling apart. So the longest spinning top is spun for 27 hours, 24 minutes, and 54 seconds.
They have a bearing?
It's what?
Did it have a bearing?
No, but it had an engine. It was this tall, had a tiny, tiny engine and a tiny battery. And how that works, I have no idea. But to get it to work, you still spin it by hand.
Centrifugal force.
Yeah. And there's some, in the video, if you haven't seen the video, you should look at it. It's a complete history. And it goes down to where we are today with some of the longest spinning videos that are available today. And you get into those categories, and Forever Spinners has a real deal on the market. You can buy 21 museum-grade tops. And these are zirconium, titanium, gold-plated, all sorts of stuff for just $2,000. And they'll ship it to you with 2 bases. Pretty good deal. So what I'm going to do, so we can come back and play a little bit, is I'm going to go up and show you how I turn my tops. And if you haven't seen one of these spin yet, let me see if I can spin one for you. Give you something to watch as I walk up front. That is my very favorite top.
That's lovely.
How long does it spin?
Forever.
Well, it depends on how I pulled it, but it's gone very close to 5 minutes.
Wow.
Still going. It's pretty cool.
It's a good thing.
Is it still spinning?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, it's starting to wobble.
Uh-oh.
Hit one of the,
One of the divots in the floor.
right. Our whole door. I think it stopped. Yeah, it's
Yeah. So it got caught on something.
Still going.
That's in the raffle, right?
I know. No, that was not the raffle.
Do a quick shot of this,
As a matter of fact, some of these have already been sold.
Here it goes.
There
There it
goes.
is. All right.
So what wood are you using?
So this one is maple. It's clear all the way through.
Uh-huh.
There are no inclusions, there's no sapwood, it's all hardwood. So it's just the pure wood. And to make these is not real tough. The tombos, if we have time, we'll try making a tombo as well. And then I'll put one out of one of these larger ones out, where you can pick one of those or the tombo, whoever wins the prize. And the tombos are great fun. They take a little more skill, but there are more games played with the tombo than they are with the handle ones. Yes?
Do you find that there's a big difference in balance between, say, riff sawn and quarter sawn blanks? Or have you tried that?
No, I haven't tried that. No.
How about, is there any difference in variation and balance between doing any kind of texture or not texture, or have you tried that?
I haven't really done a texture. I kept everything pretty smooth. What I'm going to try next, I'm going to start putting holes in it and make them whistle.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, that can be done.
Neat.
But if you start adding too much stuff to them and texture and different designs, you actually slow them down and there becomes wind friction. Yeah.
Could you do a glue up?
Yes, you can do a glue up. The glue up, as long as it's well balanced. And you're probably going to have to glue it instead of doing it sideways, you start to do it from the bottom up. Yeah, but it has to be in order for these things to spin for a long period of time, you want to have them bottom heavy and not top heavy.
So the heavier one.
Yeah, so if you look at a lot of the tops I have up here, they're more bottom heavy. Now there are a couple like this
I'll do a shot of it just so
Tell me which one.
This top right here. And this top right here, they did not spin at all. So I took and rebalanced those. So if you look at them, they had a much nicer shape. They were more slender. They didn't spin. So I rebalanced them. This is what I rebalanced as well. These that have the bottom that's sort of bigger, that's much bigger, they spin well. But it's how you put the end in that makes a difference. So at the bottom of these, I either use a brass rod and then a file to file it down, or I use a furniture tack. And the reason I like the furniture tacks is that they're round, they're soft, you can clean them up, they don't harm your furniture, and when you're putting it in and you're nailing it, you spin the top and nail it, trying to make sure that it goes in straight. Most people hit a nail and it goes a little wonky, and then when it goes too wonky, it just, they could probably hit it, it goes in, and if it's in construction, who cares? But on the top, it's gotta go straight.
So interesting.
What if you drilled and glued it in?
As long as your hole is straight. So, that's a really good question. I'll tell you why. If you're gonna drill it in, you get stuck using a very small drill. And those small drills don't go very straight. So if you're using a center point, and they throw with the center points,
Mm-hmm.
so very heavy duty, you put those in, they put a nice straight starter hole in there for you.
Yeah.
And typically that may be all you need. So I use these all the time. On the larger drills, I don't need them. And for gluing, I use that new Gorilla Super Glue, which sets in about 10 seconds. I use that for everything on the tops. So at the very top, when I put the metal in, I put the super glue in, take a hammer and just pound it in one time. And I set my depth on everything. If you can see this is one of the center pieces that go in for the pull string. I have a little mark on one side right here. That's the depth that this will go to. And so I get everything ready to go, and I can make 10 of these in a day fairly easy. So I put them together, and if I'm hammering this one, the next one, the next one, by the time I get to the end, this one's about ready to go. I can mount it, start working on it. Yes, yeah.
Have you even tried a dial center?
A what?
A dial center?
Dowel.
No, I don't. A dollar center.
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
Instead of the aluminum.
It's what?
I think he means instead of the aluminum.
Oh. No, I haven't done that. That's a good point. Thank you for doing that. Afterwards, maybe we can talk. Now, I also use these for my my handles. So, with the extra aluminum, I ordered the aluminum. And I get about 10 pieces for $14. They come in, the aluminum sands nice, the drill's nice, I use the center points to start my drilling process on all my holes. Everything goes in nice and straight, nice and easy. And the nice thing about aluminum is that I have some tools that will cut that. In case I have to clean them up or do something fancy. And with the aluminums, I can get by with a larger hole to hold my string. And they're very stable. The wooden ones, I pull them on different occasions, and the wooden handle is broke. So I tend to use that on everything today. So it's much safer for me. Any other questions?
Where do you get your aluminum rod, Dave?
What's that?
Where do you get the aluminum rod from?
I think it was MSC, and then I also go through Amazon. These came from Amazon. With $14, they ship them from China to Amazon. Easy to work with. Amazon has them to me in the day. So if you buy from Amazon in your Prime, you wait 24 hours. And there's your Ring doorbell goes off, and there's your package. let me turn this. Put my glasses on.
He takes nice care of his glasses.
Yeah,
Brand.
All right. So I'm just going to round the piece. It's the first time I've used this machine. It's quite the machine. Really, is this what you can use? Oh. It's very nice. Oh, just a little bit more. All right. Just for the interim, I'll switch to a gouge. Rick, can you find me a pencil? Is there a pencil over there? What? So I'm just going to mark the top of the top. These are arbitrary. You can get some idea of where I want the bottom to be. And start taking everything down to, so this would be my center point at the bottom, and then my bottom is going to be a little higher than what I have here. A little more wood than I need. So I'm going to take this down and start determining where my center is and start shaping all this. And I'm trying to make sure, I want to make sure that this thing, when I pull this away, that it's running true. And then if it isn't running true, we're going to true it up, go back in, and then true everything else up, and then finish it. So I'm trying to have a low bottom with a low weight. Everything is, I want everything concentrated at the bottom of the top. And as I move up toward the top, or the top of the top, I'm going to make it smaller. If I was using a shallow fluid gouge, the issue I have is that the shallow fluid gouge is so light that you can't do much. It's great for detail work, but not for digging out a lot of material. The bull gouge works really well for me. Moving down where I need to be. All right, I'm going to pull this away and look at it, see how it's spinning. All right, it's just a little bit off. Can you see that? Can you just?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to square this bottom up here, bring back my tail stock. I'm going to mark with a pencil so I know where I'm going. And then come back in and start cleaning this up. And then I'll work on the rest of it. This is actually one of the more important parts.
Your measure up there.
All right, can you hear me? All right.
So did you give yourself a tiny dimple there?
No, all I did was just take it off square. Now I'm gonna turn it back on, I'm gonna start looking for the center so I can find it as it spins. And I use my pencil. Is that on the camera? All right, so that's my center. So I want to get somewhere right in the very center of that. Let me bring my tailstock up.
Moving, yeah. It's like the power matic.
6 years out of the house.
Right, I took one off the power matic once and it just broke. You have to have shoes with it. That's why I built that extension on my leg. Yeah, leave it there and turn it. Yeah.
So I'm going to call that center. Clean this up and then shake the toy.
Actually, they make that swing. But even to lift it, it's heavy. That's it. 'Cause
When I demonstrate in all my classes, I use that little tiny lathe in the back. It's my first time using this one.
Yeah.
Huh.
I decided my leg was fine.
It's quite a lathe.
Pretty heavy.
I'm going to take down two areas. I'm doing this all by eye. This top measurement here, I did I put a little tenon on the top side, and that's going to rub against the bottom of the handle. And I'm going to take some of this out, do some kind of a design in here. So I'm going to take this in a little bit. And I'm just going to bring it back more toward the top and come up with a little smaller top here. We do something very similar to the Robbie robot that is sitting on the desk. shed. Does anybody have any thoughts of what kind of shape that they would put together on theirs? Anything that you want to do? So, all right. Let me finish this. All right, so we're ready to put the point in. Doesn't look like I need a lot of sanding on that.
Fine, you got it. I got one of those, I like it. No, but I use it a lot.
Could somebody grab me a Jacob's check out of that? I'm going to switch out one of my center points.
I'm switching you.
Put a small center
So
point
I'm
in,
just watching you and it's working.
and just put a small hole in the very center. And I'm going to use a tack. Then we'll decorate a little bit with some markers, and we'll put it together.
Do you ever use a color chuck for that?
I do, and I have a roller chuck. Yeah, the color chuck works pretty good. I found out that when I'm balancing it on my own leg.
That guy work?
Let's see. Yeah, so when I'm balancing it on my own leg, this is my chuck. And the reason I like it is that it has 2 screws in the pin chuck, and it holds it well. On my leg, I've never had it come loose on my leg, but thank God you guys were here today. Next time I turn it on, you're all invited. I'll set the chairs out. So I want to take a look at it one more time. Push the center point in just to show where it is. I don't have to go very far with that tack.
Right about there.
Let me get the tack.
And is it like an upholstery tack?
It is an upholstery tack. It's called furniture nail.
I think. Okay.
Thank you.
Nice, that's what it's
Can
showing.
you see that?
You heard it? You didn't hear it?
Oh, yeah,
Like
Yeah.
blue tongue.
very nice.
They wouldn't want it, no.
It's gonna spin on it a little bit.
So typically, I turn this as I'm putting in the tack.
Good.
Not much to it.
Yes, of these,
I don't foresee what happens. Oops.
close, but no cigar.
Let me put a few decorations on it and see if it spins.
Dave, how do you drill that hole in the aluminum for the string? How do you have a little jig that you lay the aluminum in?
Yeah, I have a little, I have a wooden vise, you know, the wooden one with the two handles on it.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And so I pull it up rather small, so it just lays in the center.
And then
And
just
then I,
tighten it down.
Make sure it's in there nice and tight, and I have tape that actually helps hold it. And I mark the center, and I take the center point, and use the center point to drill the first part of the hole. And then once I drill it in, pull it back, I change the blade, or change the drill, and then drill the appropriate hole. Yeah. So I do probably 10 at a time. It's very fast, a lot faster than this.
A little bit of
It's the
oil
most
or,
amazing
A
thing.
little wet.
oil or lubricant?
No oil, no lubricant.
Just share
The aluminum is really pretty soft. Yeah.
I turn brass on.
And then I have a sander, a sanding belt, that's for metal, and I just barely touch it, and at the very end I take, and all the stuff I'm using, I want to keep it relatively smooth, so I use some metal fiber stuff to clean it up, and some, like 600 grit I can use as well. And then to make it as clean as possible, and at the very end, when I put them in the handles, I wax everything. I'm not going to do that today, but I typically wax everything so that it spins.
Makes total sense.
How fast are you spinning, Dave, when you do
I'm
it?
spinning about 900. Well, let's put it in the air and see if it spins. Does anybody want to try spinning this?
Yes? Go ahead, Joey.
I've never done one of these, so you're gonna have to tell me how.
Alright?
Yeah, turn the other direction. There you go.
I'm not gonna hurt anything, am I?
Oh, no.
Unless you throw it at one of us.
After the mistakes I just made, I don't think so. So,
If you want, I can hurt Cindy.
okay.
Well, thank you. That's
So I'm going
lovely.
to hold it like this, walk around the floor by the floor, get closer, and pull it. And let it fall.
That's something that's, okay.
All right.
Watch out for the cord.
Wait for the camera.
Oh, wait for the camera.
We're
Let me know. You tell me when.
When? That's cool.
Beautiful.
Man, it's spinning.
Good job.
Good.
It's
doing really well. I found it, unfortunately, I found it in an area where there's extra pock marks, but it's still.
I don't think there's anywhere on the floor that isn't.
Oh, yeah, it's because of the floor.
If the floor is completely smooth or.
You just keep going,
Yeah, just go.
Perfect.
Oh, that was cool.
Thank you, Dave.
Oh, my pleasure.
So the big, you wind it through the little hole, the big hole.
Yeah, so that little hole right there at the very top,
Uh-huh.
that's, and these are called accelerators. I call them handles, but the real name is an accelerator. So,
Okay. And so the hole is large enough to accommodate, the string has to be a particular length?
it's whatever you feel, as much string as you can get on there. You may have to cut it back so it fits perfectly.
Uh-huh.
If you're using the polyester, you cut it off, put on a pair of leather gloves and get one of those lighters for lighting a stove, and then
Squeeze
with
the end of
leather
it.
glove, hold the end of it up and let it melt together, and then take that leather glove and squeeze it and turn it around like a shoelace. So when you get these hard, they'll actually
Oh, yeah.
go
Right
in
in.
place.
Yeah.
If you're using just a string or something that's not polyester and it's cotton, then take some of that, put your rubber gloves on and get some of that glue, that Gorilla Instant Glue, and then take the end of it and put the glue on it, and
Do
then
the same thing.
use the rubber gloves though, and then do that. If you use the leather gloves, then your leather
You're
gloves will be
stuck.
stuck there forever.
Yes.
Yeah. And so there are lots of different things, lots of things you can use around the house to make these. And to do this point, I've used a tack. It could be a nail, it could be a piece of brass rod. If you use a nail or a brass rod, then as it's spinning, you want to go through and soften the point so it doesn't destroy everything that you're spinning it on.
Yeah, your wood floor.
The other things I was going to show you is the high-tech ones. And they have one, or actually two high-tech, and these are sort of expensive. When you start looking at these high-tech ones that are coming out in the marketplace, they sell for starting at like $73 and go up to about $500.
Oh, my. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Oh, sure. Pass it around, you can try stringing it if you want to.
Fidget.
Everybody takes two
So
turns.
this is a high-tech spinner. So these fall in the marketplace. These can go up as high as like $100.
And is it in and of itself, or is it to put in something else and make it
No,
spin?
it's all by itself. So it just spins.
So it's just a metal top, it doesn't have the motor in it?
No motor.
Okay.
It's just machined.
It's a metal top and it's machined.
Yeah.
And there's a place in Canada called Forever Spinners.
Wow.
I don't want it to hit the floor.
Why do you think they're so expensive?
Because they're machined. Yeah, so this one,
I think that's gonna go off, yeah.
teasing.
And I have one that looks like one of the heavily
He
machined
hit a
ones.
little thing on the paint and it made it wobble.
Should come back down because it's, they're pretty
So as you
sensitive.
start getting into the really big spinners, the ones that have the engines, I'll show you one that could have an engine in it that doesn't. Because I'm not going to pay that kind of money for it. So this is a more advanced top right here. But this is the cheap version, so this one came out of China. These are the ones that they put the engines in.
Wow.
Nano engines.
And these are the ones that have spun for 27 hours.
Wow.
Amazing.
He wants you to show it to him.
Wow, that's beautiful. It also records what you had for lunch.
Did we spin it on the chair?
The other one's still going on the chair.
Gonna have a top fight.
And that's cool. But it does not spin quite like that one.
And that one is more high-tech. That one right there is the more expensive one. The one that's heading to the hands is the cheap one.
You get what you pay for.
Oh, that's very cool though.
Sure. Very cool.
Now this one looks cast.
Yeah.
This one looks like it was cast and then polished. Where
Yeah.
that one looks machined.
And that one is machine.
Yeah. But it's still very cool. Check
Yeah,
out.
so if you, can you fast forward that movie? And then if you look at this top here, which is the Tombow. If you've used the Tombos before, there are lots and lots of games for the Tombos. They put on a frisbee upside down and they shoot them into the Tombow. And the last one in the frisbee, the last Tombow in there is the winner. As a matter of fact, that's what I had on the screen. Let me see if I can throw this.
Wait, get out of the way.
Stay right there.
Oh, thank you.
All right, so that's the Tombow. And if you get real good at throwing those, and there are people that are just extraordinarily good.
Look at that close-up.
What makes it different from a top?
Because it's thrown.
Well, it's just,
You mean that it's spin top?
Yeah.
yeah, so these, they call that gassing for some reason. But whether it's this way or this way, a top is a top.
That's also that.
But it just depends on how it's thrown, how it's made. And they call it top and then they have other names to it. And the machine ones, we don't have the film, but on the film, there was a place called Forever Tops. Or Forever Spinners or something. And then those are the guys that, it shows how they're machined and put together. And they're really pretty amazing, but they're fancy little machines.
Would you spin a lady?
Oh, sure.
Then we're gonna do the raffle.
She's my favorite. I think I was watching Eva Longoria
Huh?
in one of her new Mexican eating videos. And I went in the garage and did one of these. That one is just a little too much string.
Oh, it's fun.
Don't stick your knuckles in there.
dancer.
When that hits your knuckles, you know.
White real places, white hot.
Does it have nails sticking out of it too?
No. No nails.
No nails.
That was-
That's very cool. That's
Thank
very
you so
cool.
much,
Thank you.
Dave.
That was great.